The cameras caught the handshake. What they didn't catch was the whisper. After their Miami Open clash, Eala leaned into Coco Gauff's ear and said something that made the American freeze. Then, in her press conference, the Filipina revealed the truth about Gauff's injury at Indian Wells and why it wasn't what everyone thought. The tennis world is in shock, and Coco Gauff's silence is speaking volumes. The moment the final point landed at Hard Rock Stadium, cameras zoomed in, expecting the usual post-match routine. Eala and Coco Gauff had just finished their Miami Open third-round match, a contest that, on paper, looked like a straightforward victory for the American star. But when the two players met at the net, something unexpected happened. Eala didn't just shake Gauff's hand, she leaned in and whispered something that made the 22-year-old's eyes widen. The exchange lasted only a few seconds, but those watching closely could see the shift in Gauff's expression. The forced smile, the quick nod, the way she walked off the court without looking back. What did Eala say? The question haunted fans and reporters alike. The answer came hours later in a post-match press conference that would send shockwaves through the tennis world. Eala, seated before a room of journalists, didn't talk about her victory. She didn't celebrate her win. Instead, she did something no one expected. She exposed a secret that Gauff had been hiding for months. "You want to know what I told her at the net?" Eala asked, a slight smile playing on her lips. "I told her I knew the truth about Indian Wells." The room fell silent. Eala continued, her voice steady but carrying an edge that few had heard before. "Everyone thinks Coco retired because of an arm injury. That's what she said. That's what the WTA reported. But that's not what happened. I know because she told me herself, after the match, in the locker room, when no one else was listening." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. "The pain was real. I'm not saying she faked anything, but the reason she retired, it wasn't just her arm. It was something else, something she's been hiding from the media, from her fans, from everyone." The journalists leaned forward, pens poised, recorders running. She was scared, not of the injury, of what it meant, of what would happen if she kept playing, of the truth about her body that she's been ignoring for months. The revelation was explosive. Gauff had described the Indian Wells injury as feeling like a firework was going off inside my arm, and that her whole arm felt like it was on fire. She had called it a scary feeling, and admitted it was only the second time in her career she had retired from a match. But Eala was suggesting there was more to the story, something Gauff had confided only to her. To understand the bombshell Eala dropped in Miami, you have to go back to Indian Wells. Just weeks earlier, when the two players met in the third round of the BNP Paribas Open. The match had started with Eala playing the tennis of her life. The Filipina, ranked number 31 at the time, broke Gauff's serve in all four of the American service games in the opening set. She rolled to 5 consecutive games, winning the first set 6-2, while Gauff struggled with her rhythm and committed 7 double faults. But something else was wrong. Gauff, the world number 4 and 2-time Grand Slam champion, looked uncomfortable from the start. In the second game of the first set, she felt a strange sensation in her left arm, one she would later describe as a firework going off inside her arm. The pain worsened as the match progressed, even on shots where she wasn't using the arm. By the second set, with Eala leading 2-0, Gauff walked to the net and retired. The two players embraced, and Gauff whispered something to Eala that the cameras didn't catch. After the match, Gauff took to Instagram to explain what had happened. "I felt a weird pain in my left arm in the second game of the match. I tried to continue, but it was only getting more intense," she wrote.
She added that she would undergo an MRI and that doctors didn't believe it was a long-term type of situation. The tennis world accepted the explanation. Injuries happen. Gauff had been unlucky. Eala had advanced, but the win came with an asterisk. But according to Eala's Miami press conference, that wasn't the full story. What Coco didn't tell anyone, which she only told me in the locker room, was that this wasn't the first time she'd felt that pain, Eala revealed. She'd been dealing with it for months. She'd been hiding it from her team, from the media, from everyone, because she was afraid of what it would mean for her career. Gauff's own words from the time hinted at the uncertainty. She had never felt anything like it before. The MRI was inconclusive. She admitted she had never taken an MRI before and described the experience as like what a coffin would look like. "I hope I don't have to go in one of those again," she had said. But Eala's revelations suggested that Gauff's fear wasn't just about the injury itself, it was about the pattern. The pain had been recurring, the tests weren't finding answers, and the clock was ticking toward the biggest tournaments of the year.
The Miami Open rematch was supposed to be about tennis. By the time it ended, it had become about something else entirely. Eala entered the tournament with momentum. She had just defeated Magda Linette in straight sets, advancing to the fourth round for the second consecutive year. Her game was sharp, her confidence was high, and she had a secret that gave her an edge. Gauff, meanwhile, was fighting through uncertainty. She had admitted before the tournament that her team didn't even want her to play. "If it wasn't Miami, I probably would have skipped it," she told reporters, "but I really wanted to play." The match itself was a battle. Both players knew what was at stake, not just a spot in the quarterfinals, but the psychological weight of their growing rivalry. Gauff had dominated their Dubai meeting, winning 6-0, 6-2. Eala had won at Indian Wells, but the victory came via retirement. This was their first true test since the injury, and both wanted to prove something. Eala played with a fire that surprised even her supporters. She attacked Gauff's backhand, tested her movement, and refused to let the American settle into a rhythm. The first set went to a tiebreak, with Eala edging Gauff 7-6-4. The second set was even tighter, with both players holding serve until the final game, when Eala broke Gauff to win 7-5. The final score? 7-6-4, 7-5. Eala had done it. She had beaten Coco Gauff, fair and square, no asterisks, no retirements. But it was what happened after the match that truly stunned the tennis world. When the two players met at the net, they embraced, but not the quick, perfunctory hug of competitors. This was longer, more personal. And when they pulled apart, Eala leaned in and whispered something that made Gauff's eyes widen. Later, in the press conference, Eala revealed what she had said, and in doing so, she exposed a secret that Gauff had been hiding for months. "I told her I was proud of her," Eala said, "not for the match, for being honest, for finally telling her team the truth about what's been going on, for choosing her health over the rankings." The room erupted. Reporters scrambled to understand what Eala was implying. You see, what happened at Indian Wells wasn't just an injury, it was a wake-up call. Coco had been pushing through pain for months, playing tournaments when she should have been resting, hiding symptoms from her trainers, convincing herself that it would go away. And it didn't. It got worse. She paused, choosing her words carefully. "I'm not going to share her private medical information. That's not my place. But I will say this. The Coco Gauff that everyone sees, the champion, the superstar, the one who never gives up, she's been fighting a battle that no one knew about, and I have nothing but respect for her."
In the days following Eala's revelation, Gauff remained silent. Her team declined to comment. Her social media accounts went quiet. The tennis world speculated endlessly about what Eala had meant and why Gauff wasn't denying it. The truth, when it emerged, was both simpler and more complex than anyone imagined. Gauff had been dealing with a nerve-related issue in her left arm since the beginning of the 2026 season. The pain would flare up during matches, then subside, then return without warning. She had mentioned it to her trainers, but they had dismissed it as minor, a muscle strain perhaps, or a pinched nerve. But the Indian Wells match had been different. The pain had been more intense, more persistent, more frightening. And when Eala approached her in the locker room after the match, not as a rival, but as a friend, something shifted. "She asked me if I was okay," Gauff later confided to a source close to her camp. "Not in that way that people ask when they're just being polite. She really wanted to know. And I realized that I hadn't been honest with anyone, not my team, not my family, not myself. I'd been pretending that everything was fine when it wasn't." The MRI that followed was inconclusive. Doctors couldn't find a clear cause for the pain, but they also couldn't rule out a more serious nerve issue. Gauff was faced with a choice: keep playing and risk making it worse, or take time off and risk falling behind. She chose to play. The Miami Open was too important, a hometown tournament, a chance to prove herself, a distraction from the fear that had been building inside her. But Eala knew the truth, and when they met on the court in Miami, she didn't just play to win, she played to remind Gauff that she wasn't alone.
What the cameras didn't capture, what the headlines missed, was the bond between these two young women. Eala and Gauff had known each other for years. They had played together at the 2025 Italian Open, forming a doubles partnership that revealed their mutual respect. They had practiced together, laughed together, shared the struggles of being young stars in a sport that demands everything. When Eala spoke about Gauff in her press conference, her voice softened. "Coco is one of the most incredible people I know," she said. "She's a champion, she's a fighter, but she's also human, and I think sometimes we forget that." She paused, her eyes glistening. "I didn't expose her to hurt her. I exposed her because I want people to understand what she's been going through. She's not just a tennis player. She's a person who's been dealing with something really difficult, who's been pushing through pain because she doesn't want to let anyone down." Gauff, when she finally broke her silence, echoed the sentiment. "Alex is one of my closest friends on tour," Gauff said in a statement released through her management team. "What she said in Miami came from a place of love and concern. She didn't betray my trust, she protected it, and I'm grateful for her." The two players have not faced each other since that Miami match, but their bond has only grown stronger. Gauff has taken time to focus on her health, working with specialists to understand the nerve issue that has plagued her. Eala has continued her climb up the rankings, using her platform to advocate for athlete wellness and mental health. They may be rivals on the court, but off it, they are something more, proof that competition and compassion can coexist, and that sometimes the most powerful thing a friend can do is tell the truth. Alex Eala just did something no one expected. In a post-match press conference at the Miami Open, the 20-year-old Filipina revealed the truth about Coco Gauff's injury at Indian Wells and why it wasn't what everyone thought. The world number 4 had described the sensation as a firework going off inside my arm and called it a scary feeling. But according to Eala, the injury was just the surface of a deeper struggle, one that Gauff had been hiding for months. Eala didn't expose Gauff to hurt her. She did it to remind the tennis world that champions are human too, that they push through pain, that they hide their fears behind forced smiles, and that sometimes the bravest thing a friend can do is tell the truth. Gauff has since taken time to focus on her health. Eala has continued her rise, advancing to the 4th round at Miami. Their friendship has only grown stronger. What do you think about Eala revealing Gauff's secret? Was she right to speak out? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Subscribe to Rally Radar now for daily WTA news, match breakdowns, and stories that go beyond the scoreline. Because at Rally Radar, every day is match day.